If the power steering warning light comes on in your Kia Sportage, it usually means the electric power steering system isn't working properly, making the steering wheel feel heavier than normal. Along with the power steering light, you might also see other warning lights appear on the dashboard, like the stability control light, the auto hold light, or the downhill assist light. This often happens because these systems rely on proper steering input to function correctly. One of the simplest things you can check yourself is the fuse related to the electric power steering system. This 4th generation Kia Sportage actually has 2 fuses related to the power steering. The first is the 7.5 amp fuse located in the passenger compartment fuse box, and the second is a larger 80 amp fuse found in the multifuse strip inside the engine compartment fuse box. Let's start with the smaller fuse located in the passenger compartment fuse box. To access it, open the driver's door and remove the fuse panel cover, located near the lower dashboard. Flip the cover and you will see a fuse diagram that lists all the fuses in the fuse box. Look at the first fuse in the top left corner. This fuse with steering symbol is the fuse for the electric power steering. There will be this orange 7.5 amp fuse in the fuse box. If you have a test light, you can properly test the fuse. First, turn on the ignition or start the engine to power up the fuse box. Now take your test light and connect the alligator clip to a good ground point. You can use a bare metal part of the car's frame, a bolt under the dashboard, or on the door. Look closely at the top of the fuse. There should be 2 small exposed metal contacts on either side of the fuse body. These are called test points. Touch the tip of your test light to one of these contacts. The test light should illuminate. Then move to the other contact on the same fuse and test again. If both sides light up, the fuse is good and working properly. If the test light only lights up on one side, that means the fuse is blown and needs to be replaced. If you don't have a test light, you can still check the fuse by doing a physical inspection. First, make sure the ignition is off for safety. Then use the fuse puller provided inside the engine compartment fuse box or a small pair of needle nose pliers to carefully grip the fuse and pull it straight out. Hold the fuse up to a bright light. Look closely at the thin metal strip inside the plastic casing of the fuse. A good fuse will have an unbroken metal strip running across from one side to the other. If you see that the strip is broken or there's a black or burnt mark inside the fuse, that means the fuse is blown and needs to be replaced. Here is an example of how a burnt fuse looks like. See how the metal strip inside is broken. Make sure to replace it with another fuse of the same amperage rating, 7.5 amps in this case. If the interior fuse is good but the power steering warning lights is still on, the next thing to check is the larger 80 amp fuse. This fuse is part of the multifuse strip located inside the engine compartment fuse box. To access it, open the hood and locate the black fuse box near the battery. Remove the cover by pressing the tabs on the sides and lifting it up. Let's take a close look at the fuse diagram on the back of the cover. This is the fuse for the electric power steering, and it's an 80 amp fuse. You can identify it by the steering wheel symbol on the diagram. This fuse is actually inside the multifuse strip. Look through the small window on the side of the fuse strip and you will see multiple metal filaments inside. The third filament from the bottom is the fuse for the electric power steering. If the fuse is blown, the filament or wire you see inside will be broken or burnt. If the fuse is blown, you cannot replace this individual fuse. You'll have to replace the entire multifuse strip. Before removing the multifuse, always disconnect the negative terminal of the battery for safety reasons. The multifuse is held in place by a nut on one side and a plastic clip on the other. Use a 10mm socket to loosen and remove the nut. Then press the plastic tab on the opposite side using a flathead screwdriver and gently pull out the multifuse. Carefully wiggle it back and forth while pulling upward to loosen it. You may need to apply a bit of force as it can be seated tightly. Now that the multifuse strip is out, you can also test the fuse with a multimeter. Set your multimeter to continuity or resistance setting. Place one probe on the large metal contact at the top and the other probe on the metal contact under the power steering fuse. If the multimeter shows 0 resistance, the fuse is good. If it reads OL, the fuse is blown. However, in most cases, a visual inspection is enough to determine whether the fuse is blown or not. If the multifuse is good, but the power steering warning light is still on, that means the issue is likely somewhere else in the system. The next possible causes could include a faulty steering angle sensor, a bad power steering control module, or wiring problems like a loose connector or damaged harness. In many cases, the vehicle's onboard computer stores a trouble code related to the problem. Using an OBD2 scanner that can read EPS or steering system codes will help you pinpoint exactly what's going wrong. If you don't have a scanner, most auto electricians or workshops can perform this scan for you. Fixing the problem might be as simple as tightening a connector, or it could require replacement of a component depending on what the scan reveals. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Wisdom for more car repair tips. Thanks for watching.